Got a few interesting little topics lined up for you. We got Praveen's going to give us his first little lightning talk. You've got about 2 minutes. All right, I'll hold you to it. All right. So you've lined up some tabs here. So I'll let you talk. Take it away.
Hey everyone. Just a quick. I would say it's going to be a small update of what is happening these days. And recently, yesterday or day before yesterday, I was looking at the Google I/O summary, and I'm super excited to share this with everyone. This one is mind blowing. So Adobe and Google are joining together, along with the Palm 2, I believe it is correct. That is the OpenAI alternative by Google. They are kind of like doing this conversational AI, bringing into the graphics, and this is like literally mind blowing. And after this, we cannot say what is real and what is fake. Because, for example, you can actually generate things using AI, and it is limitless. So that's one thing. And yeah, that's pretty much crazy, right? So this is something which I wanted to tell everyone. And the imagination is the only limit, I would say. So this is something happened just a few days ago. And the other thing which I wanted to say is, okay, that's me. So if you want to get connected with me, here is the easiest way. So on the right, yeah, okay, on this side, I'm like an air host saying something like, okay, on the right you see the LinkedIn. Please get connected with me on LinkedIn for any kind of questions. And if you want anything related to JavaScript or anything, on the right. And on the left, I have been talking a lot about JavaScript, how to do something really amazing. And I put a request to Adam on the 100th meetup if I could talk about client-side JavaScript encryption, where I would dare to put my sensitive details on the client side and encrypt it. I have tried something, could be crazy. I would like to present that. And my name is Praveen. I'm living in London, working as a front-end architect, currently a director of engineering in one of the fintech. And I love JavaScript. That's me. Thank you. And I do have my YouTube and LinkedIn, so let's get connected. Thank you so much.
That's awesome, Praveen. Thank you. And look forward to your talk, the 100th episode.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Excellent.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.
What great advertising. Jared, do you want to come up and give your little introduction?
Hey, I'm Jared. I'm a backend engineer, mostly writing in APIs. We at our company make a lot of use of the serverless framework. And when I started there a couple of years ago, I noticed that there were a couple of plugins for the serverless framework that would generate open API documents for you, but they hadn't been maintained in a very long time. So I've taken over the maintenance, or I forked one of them and started writing my own. I've been using it to generate all of our open API documentation. One of the slightly interesting things about this is once you start generating open API documents for that, if you're making use of Postman, you can obviously import those Postman open API files into Postman, and that will sort out all of your Postman connections. And then further to that, there's another library, which I think is called Portman, I forget now. And then that will allow you to run the Postman integration tests via your CI/CD. So this is something I'd like to develop into a further talk if anyone's interested. But for the minute, my library's up here. You can install it if you're using the serverless framework, and it should generate quite nice open API documentation, and it should dereference all of your JSON schemas if you've got complex schemas. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, we've got one more. Josh, where are you?
Hi, y'all. My name is Josh Ellis. I kind of wear two hats. I'm a writer and a developer. As a writer, I was actually started out with this magazine, Mondo 2000 in San Francisco in the 90s. I was a newspaper columnist, a futurist. If anybody here knows about the people who live in the storm drains under Las Vegas, I'm the reason you know about that. I was the first journalist to do that. I was nominated for a Pulitzer. As a developer, I got started back in the Paleolithic era. I wrote my first HTML in '95. I was a co-founder of BitPass, an early micropayments company, and Imperia, which was the first, maybe the first indie record store on the internet, 2002. I don't know if anybody here knows Paul Carr. He was a Shoreditch guy back in the Nathan Barley days. Paul moved to America, started a site called NSFW Corp, and I was the lead developer. That was Andreessen Horowitz, Peter Thiel, and Tony Hsieh were the money people on that. He ended up folding it into Pando Daily. So my background is in content management systems, media stuff. I built a shit ton of CMSs and APIs. And the reason I wanted to talk is I have two open source projects that I'm working on that I'm looking for help with. Both are non-commercial, anti-commercial actually, and one of them is the only thing that I've ever come up with that I think legitimately has a chance to change the world. And I mean that, I say that without hyperbole. I genuinely believe this. The first one is a new social network or anti-social network tool I'm building called Kowloon. Is anybody here familiar with the Fediverse, with ActivityPub, activity streams? It's basically what Mastodon's built on. It's a new standard for doing this stuff. And I have come up with, I think, a better way of dealing with social networks. It's based on how humans actually are social, which is a little antithetical to most of them. Social networks are mostly designed to drive engagement, and they're designed to basically mine your data, right? But also make privacy difficult. I am contemptuous of this. So I have built something that is privacy first and foremost. It's safety first and foremost. But the UI for it is progressive. It's designed to basically replace all of the social networks by allowing you to do something that seems obvious to me, but nobody's ever done. You can filter what you're seeing by the type of post it is. So if you want to see just photographs, it's Instagram. If you want to see just videos, it's TikTok. Want to hear just audio, it's Bandcamp. Want to see just long posts, it's Medium. Want to see just short posts, it's Twitter. This is obvious, but nobody's ever done this, except now I've got it. As of today, I have the server working, the server side. It ain't perfect, but it's taken me a few years to do this. I've been on web community, well, shit, I was on BBSs back in the 80s when I was a little kid, but I was involved with, I knew the people who started Friendster and TribeNet back in the day, and Howard Rheingold, who was one of the big virtual community people. This is stuff I've been thinking about for 30 years. And this is kind of the distillation of all of that. I'm doing all of it, like I said, I'm a full stack guy, but I could use some help. But I think this is really, really cool. This is not another like, oh, it's just a Mastodon clone. This is cool. And so it's right now, it's a REST API, but it's also going to have a GraphQL endpoint and a Socket.io endpoint, the full 9 yards. Front end, I'm just doing in Next.js and React because I'm old, man. Like I'm not up to the, like I haven't even messed with Svelte yet. But I think it's worth looking at. The other one that I want help with is the one that could change the world. Does anybody remember a project from about 15 years ago called One Red Paperclip? Remember this? Okay. So if you're not familiar, which most of you probably aren't, guy takes a paperclip, finds somebody he can trade it to for a pin, gets the pin, trades it for a doorknob, gets a doorknob, trades it for a camp stove. Is this sounding familiar? He trades up to get a house, and he ends up trading his paperclip for an actual house. He bought or bartered for an actual house. During the pandemic, a lady who was an editor at BuzzFeed did the exact same thing. So those of you who are algorithm nerds might realize this is what's called a chain of pairs or longest chain algorithm problem. What's the longest chain you can make of matched pairs to create something? So if you take objects, paperclip, house, iPod Classic, cell phone, Lamborghini Testarossa, your mother's horrible old like commemorative plates. You can semantically graph these in such a way that an AI can predict things that people might trade for a similar object and offer it. And I figured out that it is possible to create an algorithmic version of this that works for anyone. You say, I've got whatever, I've got a Moto 5G Plus, and the system will come to you and say, all right, take your Moto G5, send it to this address. In 2 weeks, you'll get a pickup truck, or you'll get a house, or you'll get whatever the longest chain it can construct is. And I've looked at this. This is going to work. The problem is, I understand the chain of pairs algorithm, but machine learning and AI is mostly Python and R. I'm a Node guy, JavaScript guy. I'm trying to learn it, but I'm doing it by myself with no help. But if you think about the ramifications of this, if this is something that is given away to people for free, this is the one thing that I've ever, like I said, might actually change the world. If anyone could use this system to get anything that they can think of by trading things, using AI rather than just as a tool of capitalism, which is what most of us want to use it for, which is, I think personally, kind of stupid and boring. It's a bad thing. Why not use AI to try to subvert capitalism, to try and subvert inequality and basically play jazz and do really weird things with the economy other than just putting people out of jobs? I don't know if this is something that anybody else finds interesting, but I'm an anti-capitalist anyway. And I love the idea that something like this could actually disrupt the economy globally. And if you think about it, I mean, think about the ramification of this. That's exactly what this would do. And I would do that just for the hell of it, because I would find it really, really amusing. I've talked to a few people about it who are wanting to get involved. Guy I met here last time. But this will work. This is not a crazy fantasy thing. If all this weird stuff they say we can do with AI, this is one of them. We can really do this. If anybody else is interested, if anybody would like to get involved in this, even to make a proof of concept, because once you've proven the concept, that's it. That Pandora's box just opens and everything flies right out. So if anybody would be really interested in doing this, I would love to talk to you. I'm kind of isolated here. I moved here during the pandemic. I fell in love with a British girl and moved here during the pandemic, which I don't know if you all traveled back then, but that was moved heaven and earth. But I've been stuck in Watford for my sins. So I have no community. I've had nobody to talk to about this. It's just me up in the wilderness of northern London. Find me at the pub afterwards. I'll give you my contact info. I didn't really plan on this. I just kind of... You have a LinkedIn? I do. It's JZ Ellis, or Zed, I guess you all would say. J is in Joshua, Z is in Zachariah, ELLIS. It's the same thing on Facebook, on GitHub. I'm not on Twitter because I made fun of Donald Trump and they kicked me off. I'm sorry? Yeah, JZ Ellis, Joshua Zachariah Ellis. Yeah, everybody thinks it's because of Jay-Z the rapper. It's just my initials. But yeah, so I think I would just love to have this conversation, especially with anybody who just wants to use tech for something other than making money, because it's so boring.
I need to introduce you to my workmate who, after the weekend, asked him what he'd done over the weekend. And he said, well, he's spent the weekend creating virtual CEO because artificial intelligence is talking about putting everyone out of their jobs. He's going to do something to put CEOs out of their job too.
And all it has to do is come up with really stupid ideas, bother Mark Andreessen for money, and get a Hulu TV show made about it after it fucks everything up, right? So that's all a virtual CEO really needs to do in 2023.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thank you.